Welcome back, everybody. We're diving deep today into a chapter of the Bible packed with drama, intrigue, betrayal, forgiveness,
There's a little bit of everything.
the whole shebang. You wanted to unpack Exodus chapter 32, and let me tell you, this story is anything but straightforward.
It really gets to the heart of what it means to be human, doesn't it? This
Yeah.
story of the Israelites, it's a reminder of how easily we can slip into impatience, fear, and that temptation to look for a quick fix.
Even when we have clear guidance.
Even when we have a load map.
It's wild, right? Imagine this. Moses is up on Mount Sinai.
Okay.
He's receiving the Ten Commandments, the foundation of the Israelites' relationship with God.
A pretty important moment.
A pretty big deal. And it's at that very moment that the Israelites down below start to
We'll lose it a little.
they lose their cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost funny how quickly they flip from complete trust in Moses to, Aaron, little help here. Moses has been gone a while, and we're kind of freaking out. I think you could maybe whip up some gods for us, just in case.
Yeah, and it's not just about losing faith in Moses. It's that they completely miss the point of their covenant with God.
Right.
They demand a tangible God, something they can see and control.
Like almost as if they could contain the divine in a statue.
Yeah, like a golden statue.
And the way they go about it, too, it's so striking.
Oh, yeah.
They melt down their golden earrings, talk about commitment.
A fashion sacrifice, for sure.
And Aaron, their high priest, shapes this molten gold into a calf. I mean, you can't make this stuff up.
It's a powerful image. It speaks volumes. They're basically saying we need something to worship to reassure us. If God isn't going to show up how we expect we'll make our own.
And here's the irony.
Here it comes.
They're throwing a feast to the Lord while worshiping a golden calf.
Oh, wow.
It's like they're hedging their bets, clinging to the idea of God while making their own.
It begs the question, were they truly worshiping God or just the comfort of the ritual? This episode gets at the tension between genuine faith and just going through the motions.
Well, one thing's for sure. God is not pleased. The text describes his reaction as furious. He tells Moses, "Let me alone that my wrath may wax hot against them and that I may consume them."
That's a strong reaction.
That's a very strong reaction.
Understandable, though, isn't it? I mean, God just delivered them from slavery, offered a covenant relationship,
Right.
and now they turn their backs on him. That's not just a slip-up. It's a complete rejection of God.
And it's in this moment that Moses steps up and shows what true leadership is.
Yeah.
He becomes this intercessor pleading with God. Hold on a second. Remember those promises you made to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? You can't just wipe out these people now.
Right, and it introduces this idea of Moses as a mediator between God and humanity, which foreshadows Jesus in the New Testament. He's not just a messenger, he's actively fighting for the people, appealing to God's mercy and faithfulness.
And it works. God listens to Moses and steps back from that initial plan. But you mentioned something about forgiveness not necessarily meaning an absence of consequences.
Right.
What did you mean by that?
Well, God's immediate anger subsides, but the consequences of their actions will still unfold. Think of it like this. Even when a parent forgives a child for doing something wrong, there might still be consequences.
Right.
Forgiveness doesn't erase the need for accountability.
Okay, so we have Moses carrying the 2 tablets of the 10 Commandments, literally inscribed by God,
Wow.
descending from Mount Sinai. You'd think he'd be expecting a grand welcome.
A hero's welcome.
Right. A moment of awe as he presents these sacred laws. Instead, he's met with, well, let's just say it wasn't what he hoped for.
What was it like?
It was more like a scene out of a wild party. There they are dancing around this golden calf like it's some pop star.
No.
I can only imagine the shock, the disappointment, and the betrayal Moses must have felt.
Yeah, the contrast is jarring.
Yeah.
You have the sacredness of the tablets, God's covenant, his law, and then this chaotic revelry. It's like they're spitting in the face of everything those tablets represent.
And Moses' reaction is completely human,
Wow.
raw, visceral. He hurls those tablets down, shattering them at the foot of the mountain. That image of the broken tablets is burned in my memory.
Wow.
A shattered covenant, shattered trust, and a leader grappling with the weight of his people's betrayal.
He doesn't stop there, though, does he?
He does not.
What happens next?
He takes that golden calf, grinds it into powder, mixes it with water, and makes the Israelites drink it. It's a powerful image of purification, a forced confrontation with their actions. Imagine the bitterness of that drink, a symbolic reminder of their broken faith.
Wow. It's intense.
It's clear Moses isn't letting this one go.
No, he is not.
He confronts Aaron, who, let's be honest, is not looking too good here.
Not his best moment.
And Aaron's excuse is almost laughable. He tries to deflect blame, saying, well, you see, the people were pretty insistent. I just tossed their gold in the fire and poof, out popped this calf. It just kind of happened.
Oh, come on.
Classic passing the buck. But Moses sees right through it.
He knows better.
He recognizes how serious this sin is and that there needs to be accountability. He takes a stand at the gate of the camp and challenges them. Who is on the Lord's side? Let him come to me.
Powerful words.
And it's the Levites, the priestly tribes, who answer his call. They're tasked with restoring order and carrying out God's judgment.
And what happens then?
It's a chilling moment. They execute around 3,000 Israelites who are involved in this idolatry.
3,000.
A reminder that even with forgiveness, actions have consequences. This scene is loaded with conflicting emotions, the speed of the judgment, the communal mourning, and yet Moses still pleads for God's mercy. He goes so far as to offer himself as a sacrifice, saying, yet now if thou wilt forgive their sin, and if not blot me, I pray thee out of thy book which thou hast written.
Wow, that is some serious dedication.
Talk about going to bat for your people.
It's an act of incredible selflessness.
Right.
It's the embodiment of atonement, one person bearing the punishment for the sake of others.
Wow, that's intense. So how does God respond to all of this?
Well, God does offer forgiveness, but not without a catch. It isn't a complete do-over. He says that he will visit their sin upon them, but later on down the line.
So even though there's forgiveness, there are still repercussions.
Right. That's what's so interesting about this whole story. It gets at that tension between mercy and justice.
Right.
Forgiveness doesn't mean you get away scot-free. It's more about healing and restoration. But there are still scars, you know?
It reminds me of that saying, you can forgive someone but not condone their actions.
Exactly. Forgiveness can be there, but the consequences still have to happen.
This also makes me think about collective responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
The whole community has to deal with the consequences because of what a few people did. It makes you think how much our actions impact those around us, even with forgiveness.
It really does. It makes you stop and think. We often think about ourselves as individuals, but our choices, they have a ripple effect.
Right.
They touch our families, our communities, and even the generations that come after us. This episode is a reminder that we're all connected, whether we like it or not.
It's like a cautionary tale, warning us to be careful of the golden calves we might be making in our own lives.
Those things we cling to for comfort when our faith is tested.
Yeah, or for security.
It's so easy to fall into that trap, right? We look for quick fixes for something tangible and reassuring when we're uncertain or afraid.
When we're scared.
Yeah. But just like the Israelites learned, those false idols can pull us away from what really mattered.
Think about what those golden calves might be today.
Okay.
What promises fulfillment but leaves us empty?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah.
It could be anything. Money, status, appearances, needing constant validation, anything we put above God, or even our own morals.
It's like there's this constant pressure saying happiness comes from outside, but the Israelite story says true fulfillment comes from somewhere much deeper.
It reminds us to check our compass, make sure we're still going the right way.
Yeah.
And when we mess up, because we all do, we need to remember Moses.
We mean
Even after everything the Israelites did, Moses doesn't abandon them.
he sticks with them.
He keeps asking for forgiveness, for them to be spared. He's the perfect example of compassion and forgiveness, which is what we should all strive for.
So even when we make mistakes, when we think we've totally messed up, there's still hope.
Oh, absolutely. We're never too far gone for God's grace. This story shows us that forgiveness is always there, even when we screw up big time. And we can learn from those mistakes.
Become better.
Yeah, just like the Israelites, humbled, renewed.
You know, thinking about Moses fighting for them makes me realize we need people like that in our lives.
To challenge us and guide us.
Yeah, and remind us what's important when we lose our way.
We need mentors, friends, advisors, people who can give us honest feedback and help us get back on track when we slip up.
Right.
But we have to be open to that help.
Right. It's a two-way street.
It is.
Wow.
We have to be humble enough to listen, but we also have to be that Moses for others. Be supportive, offer encouragement. And sometimes we need to gently nudge someone in the right direction.
It's knowing we're not meant to do this life alone.
Right.
We need each other. We need to support and guide each other on this crazy journey of faith.
It's about being a community, a tribe, a network that lifts each other up, helps each other stay true to who we are and what we want to be. And in the end, it's knowing we're all in this together. We all have weaknesses, but we can also be incredibly loving, compassionate, and forgiving.
I love that. It's a good reminder that even with huge mistakes like worshiping a golden calf, There's always hope.
There is.
Hope for fixing things, making amends, and finding a new purpose.
It's also important to remember that the Israelites wandering for 40 years wasn't all about punishment.
What do you mean?
It was also about growing stronger, changing for the better. It was a chance for them to let go of their old ways, face their fears, and come out closer to God and their true purpose.
So sometimes those tough times, those times when we deal with the consequences of what we've done, can actually make us stronger.
Exactly. It's not about getting away with things. It's about using those times to learn to grow and become who we're meant to be.
It makes me think about how this one chapter from Exodus has stuck with people for centuries. It shaped religious beliefs and even how we talk.
It's amazing how much impact it's had.
We still use golden calf
Mm-hmm.
to talk about getting our priorities mixed up. Yeah, it's a story that still speaks to us today because it reflects something about being human.
For sure.
That struggle with temptation, wanting easy answers, and the consequences when we choose quick satisfaction over lasting fulfillment.
It's a timeless tale. Even today, we see golden calves everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Things that promise happiness and security, but we end up feeling empty. Could be chasing wealth, obsession with status and how we look, or clinging to rigid beliefs that stop us from seeing other viewpoints.
It's like we always have to check in with ourselves.
Yeah.
Ask, what are the golden calves in my life? What's tempting me to abandon my values, my relationship with God, or even my own sense of integrity?
Those are tough questions.
They are.
And it's hard to be honest with ourselves about that stuff, right? We want to ignore those doubts, convince ourselves that we're in control, that we can resist temptation. But the Israelite story reminds us that we're all susceptible to those pitfalls.
Makes me think about how important it is to have those Moses figures in our lives.
Right. Those people who can challenge us and guide us.
Yeah, and offer a new perspective when we start to stray.
Absolutely. We need mentors, trusted friends, advisors, people who aren't afraid to tell us the truth, even when it's hard to hear.
It takes humility to be open to that.
It does, but it's so important for growth and for staying true to who we are.
But we can also be that Moses for other people too, right?
Exactly.
Offer support, encouragement, maybe even gently nudge them in the right direction.
Sometimes that's all it takes.
Especially when they're struggling or making choices that could lead them down the wrong path.
It's all about realizing that we're not meant to walk this path alone.
We're not.
We're called to be a community, a support system. It's holding each other accountable while giving grace and understanding when someone messes up.
Which is bound to happen.
Oh, it happens to the best of us.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Exodus chapter 32,
It's been a journey.
it has been. What's the one thing you want our listeners to take away from this?
I hope this episode reminds us that we're all capable of great things and huge screw-ups. But no matter how far we stray, how badly we mess up, God's grace is always there. There's always a way back to forgiveness, to healing, and to a better relationship with God and with each other.
That's a beautiful message.
Yeah.
So to everyone listening, remember those Israelites and their golden calf. Be willing to challenge yourself. Find wise counsel. And most importantly, never forget the power of forgiveness and God's endless love. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time for another exciting exploration.